Star Wars Battlefront has new content coming for it, and well, it's arguably the one we've all been waiting for. Not only are we getting new heroes, which I'll get onto in just a second, but this DLC is bringing us space battles. That's right, players have been asking for it since the launch of the game, but finally we get to live out our childhood dreams by flying through the trenches of a Star Destroyer and the Death Star. I can't wait. Before we get onto that though, on the 21st of July a new game mode is going to be added to the game called Skirmish. Battlefront is finally getting an offline mode. Players will be able to play against bots on their own or with a friend in co-op or split screen on consoles. You can pick the difficulty you want and then play either Walker Assault or Fighter Squadron. Personally, I can't see myself playing against bots when I can play against real people, but it's good to know that the option is there because there's a lot of people that definitely want it, and those guys that maybe played the offline modes in the original Battlefront games were a bit disappointed by the lack of that feature, and also the people that maybe wanted just a single player version of the game. Okay, moving on, the Death Star, the next DLC coming out in September, and well, the name says it all, doesn't it? Who doesn't want to play levels based around the Death Star? As you would expect, we'll be getting more new maps, but this time they'll be both on the ground and in space. As well as that, we'll be getting new weapons, star cards, and of course new heroes and villains. Space battles, like I just said, have been something that's been requested for a long time. I mean, it is called Star Wars after all. I'm hoping that we have a level where you've got players on a ship like a destroyer or even the Death Star itself, and then you've got other players in fighters flying around in space around it. That would be amazing, and I'm sure that's how at least some of the levels might be. Fingers crossed we get some of that space to Star Destroyer or Death Star. They'd be missing a real trick if it wasn't like that, I think. Also, I'd expect there to be some maps that don't involve space battles just to mix things up a bit. Well, what about the new hero and new villain? Well, one of them you can 100% guess, as we knew it was coming. It was only a matter of time. Chewbacca will finally be making his appearance in the game. That's my best Chewbacca impression. It's pretty bad, but whatever. The cuddly long-haired Wookiee is a welcome sight and a fan favourite. Also, his bowcaster weapon is already in the game, so I expect him to come equipped with a much more powerful version of that, and perhaps some devastating melee abilities as well. The second new hero is Bossk. If you remember, a while ago I did a video trying to guess the new heroes and villains, and Bossk was one of them, and finally he's made it in as well. If you don't know who he is, he's sort of a lizard looking bounty hunter. He's in the scene with Darth Vader in The Empire Strikes Back with all of the other bounty hunters. He also looks pretty damn cool. We also know who the final two heroes will be in the last DLC for the game, and I'll get onto that shortly, but sadly there's no place in this game for Yoda, Obi-Wan or some other fan favourites. Now then, if you follow Star Wars, and I'm sure that lots of you do, you of course know about the new film coming out later this year called Rogue One. And this follows the story of the Resistance fighters stealing the plans to the Death Star. It's set just before A New Hope. This is of course a prequel to the main films. What we now know though, and what's been suspected, is that the final DLC for Battlefront will be based on Rogue One. It's also going to be based on a new planet called Scarif that will be making an appearance in the film. That's the one that kind of looks like a tropical beach location. Details are a little scarce beyond that, but we do know who the two new heroes we'll be guessing are: Jyn Erso and director Orson Krennic. Jyn is played by Felicity Jones in the film as in the lead actress and plays a criminal come resistance fighter, and director Krennic on the other hand is an Imperial officer who's very sinister, and he's on the rise, desperate to become the Emperor's right hand man. I'm really interested to see how they approach the Rogue One DLC and also space battles, but I guess they kind of just speak for themselves, although I am hoping for a few more objective based game modes rather than just Fighter Squadron, which is fly around and kill everyone. Fingers crossed that we'll get a Fighter Squadron style game mode for the space battles that focuses on destroying the Death Star. I can't wait to get stuck into those, but before I go, we also have a little bit of information on the new Star Wars game being made by Visceral Games, because during the Star Wars celebration last week, the creative director of Visceral's new game, Amy Hennig, described the game as an original Star Wars story with new characters, new locations, new tech, new creatures, you name it. What's interesting is that as well as that, she says that the process that I've been using is really similar to what I did for Uncharted, as Amy Hennig of course worked on the Uncharted Uncharted series of games. Now that's not to say this game is going to turn out like Uncharted, but if that series is anything to go by, at least the story and creative direction could be pretty top notch. She's also claimed that there are a lot of clues hidden in the released art for the game. Very interesting, and I'd love to see if anyone can spot those. And that's all for today, folks. Do let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, a thumbs down, and I'll see you in the next one.